Tonight, murdered in cold blood, 2 young police officers and an innocent bystander shot dead in an execution-style killing. A former school principal among 3 people blamed for the murders. What led to the deadly ambush? Also tonight, a neo-Nazi claims self-defence following a brutal attack on a security guard at Channel 9. A man denied bail as his sister fights for life after falling from his car on the Princes Freeway. Family-friendly travel, Uber and some taxis offering child seats. And the world's biggest swimming stars making a splash right here at MSAC.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Alicia Loxley.
Good evening. A welfare check by 4 Queensland police officers has descended into a scene of horror. 2 young constables ambushed and executed. A neighbour was also murdered before tactical officers returned fire and took out the 3 killers. The brutal siege unfolded at a remote property 300 kilometres west of Brisbane. Sophie Walsh begins tonight's coverage.
4 young officers sent to a routine missing persons check, but only 2 made it out alive. 29-year-old Constable Rachel McCrow and 26-year-old Constable Matthew Arnold, both murdered in cold blood at this Weembilla property west of Brisbane.
An absolutely horrific incident, and our hearts just break for these 2 young, beautiful young officers who are just doing their job.
Yesterday afternoon, the constables, all in their 20s, were sent to the home in the Western Downs at the request of New South Wales Police. But as they walked towards the house, they were ambushed by 2 men in camouflage gear who opened fire with high-powered guns.
The scene is kind of unimaginable. It's distressing. And in my view, those officers did not stand a chance.
Nathaniel Train, a former New South Wales primary school principal, and his brother Gareth showed no mercy. Gareth's wife Stacey was also at the home, their shots hitting 3 of the young officers. Rachel and Matthew were killed almost instantly, the murderers taking their guns from their bodies.
These murderous, callous trio were intent on killing people.
Neighbour Alan Dare also went to investigate. He too was shot dead from behind. 28-year-old constables Randall Kirk and Keely Bruff both managed to escape, Randall suffering a bullet graze to the leg.
He was shot at, and then when he retreated, got into the police car to try and get assistance, he was shot at again.
Keely, who had only been in the job 9 weeks, sprinted from the killers, taking cover in the long grass. As she hid, she messaged her family, while the gunman lit fires, trying to smoke her out.
And the people that I have spoken to cannot believe how she survived and what she did during that period of time.
She was rescued by a team of 16 everyday officers who went in under heavy gunfire.
That too was bravery beyond belief. I take my hat off to them, and they did that extraordinarily well, knowing that they were going to be under fire.
The standoff stretched late into the night, ending in a firefight. Specialist police shooting dead Nathaniel, Gareth and his wife. This morning, bodies were still strewn across the rural property as Alan Dare's distraught wife visited the crime scene. An armoured vehicle sprayed with bullets telling the story of a bloody battle. It was triggered by Nathaniel, who was the subject of the missing persons notice. He was last seen in Dubbo a year ago. The 46-year-old had been the principal at a primary school in Walgett until the middle of last year, before suffering a heart attack. That's when his mental health reportedly deteriorated. His brother Gareth was a conspiracy theorist who posted prolifically online, blaming the Port Arthur massacre on the government and claiming police can't be trusted. Their father speaking from his Queensland home.
You can speculate, make up as much as you want to.
I just wanted to see if there was anything,
you can't do anything. I've lost 2 children.
Questions are now being raised about what information was passed on to the young officers.
Those risk assessments are quite thorough. And we will look at that in our investigation, but certainly, those risk assessments are done before we attend any jobs.
This is not a price that anyone who puts on the uniform should ever pay.
At police stations where the officers worked, flowers for the fallen.
It's devastating. It hurts so much.
Flags also flying at half-mast in a show of respect for Matthew and Rachel, two highly respected, much-loved members of the force who had a passion for serving their community and had so much more life left to live. Sophie Walsh, 9 News.
And tributes are flowing in the nearby town of Tara, where the two police officers were stationed. Nick Kelly is there. Nick, the tight-knit community is shaken.
Oh, absolutely, Alicia. As one person said to me today, something like this is difficult for any town to grasp, let alone one as small as this. Throughout the day, we've seen people arriving here fairly regularly to lay flowers out the front of Tara Police Station, which was home to those two murdered officers. We also quite touchingly saw locals gather this afternoon for a moment's silence in tribute. It's just a town doing what it can, Alicia, to come to terms with the loss of not only its two police officers, but two very valued community members.
Just unimaginable. OK, Nick, thank you. The heartbreaking loss is also being felt among police here in Victoria, with our own officers paying sombre tribute. Mark Santomartino joins us now from police headquarters on Spencer Street. Mark, how is the force honouring its fallen colleagues?
It's not much, Alicia, but right here in the heart of the city, just outside of Victoria Police's headquarters, flags are flying at half-mast tonight. The same is on display outside of police stations at Fawkner, Reservoir, Sunshine, Melbourne. In fact, outside of every single Victoria Police station across the state, as a mark of respect not only for these slain officers, but for their families as well as their communities. Now, we haven't seen Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews today, but he has taken to Twitter, writing that Constable Matthew Arnold and Constable Rachel Crow had their lives tragically cut short at work. They served to keep their community safe, and they did so with honour. I extend the sympathies of all Victorians to their families and to all Queenslanders. A sentiment echoed by senior members of Victoria's police force today.
There is a brotherhood and a sisterhood that exists between policing agencies. So it certainly has a massive impact on our organisation.
Police family extends across all borders, and it affects and gives rise to people to acknowledge and remember the police every day of the year, are putting themselves on the line to keep people safe.
Alicia, Melbourne's landmarks have recently been bathed in blue light as part of a show of solidarity anytime a police officer dies. Most recently, when those 4 Victoria police officers were killed in the Eastern Freeway tragedy, I should say. I'm told that tonight that will not be happening, Alicia.
OK, Mark Santomartino there, thank you. To other news now, and an accused neo-Nazi says he was acting in self-defence when he punched a security guard to the ground, leaving him in hospital. Thomas Sewell pleaded his innocence in court, backed up by a large contingent of apparent far-right supporters. Adam Hegarty was there.
A dark underbelly, clear as day. A Nazi salute outside court. A supporter, one of many, for Thomas Sewell, the alleged neo-Nazi leader, pleading innocence.
You're claiming self-defence?
Absolutely. Claiming this was self-defence. In March last year, several blows to a security guard, Thad Francis, outside Channel 9's Docklands headquarters. It left him in hospital. Sewell claims the guard attacked first.
Out of reasonable self-defence for the cameraman to stop him from having his throat crushed, I disabled the attacker.
In his lawyer's words, you throat punched him with an open hand in response to this apparent racial slur.
Dance, monkey, dance. Watch yourself, bro. I'm not a dance monkey, watch yourself.
A suggestion denied by Mr Francis, the first of 7 witnesses, as Sewell faces assault charges.
When a comment was made by another person, that's when he attacked that person. He lost his temper and he struck them to the throat, and that's when I defended my colleague.
Sewell and an associate had been filming in the Channel 9 foyer before Mr Francis ushered them out. They wanted to confront journalists about a planned white supremacy expose. The racial undertone's clear even in court. At one point, a video-linked spectator was told to take down a neo-Nazi background, while when others were told to take off hats and glasses, one responded with, "You wouldn't ask a Muslim to remove a burqa."
If the lying press can show the truth for once, then the Australian public will know the truth.
Adam Hegarty, 9 News.
A court has heard a brother and sister were arguing over the death of a family member seconds before she fell from a moving car on the Princes Highway in Little River. As the 30-year-old continues to fight for life, her brother made a failed bid for bail. Crime reporter Lana Murphy.
In his own words, police allege David Facita cracked it, lashing out in his Honda Civic with his sister in the passenger seat. Court documents claim the 28-year-old smashed his car radio up to 4 times. He was allegedly driving at 100 kilometres per hour on the Princes Freeway heading towards Geelong on Sunday. Seconds later, his sibling fell from the moving vehicle. She wanted him to stop the car so she could get out, the magistrate said. If it turns out she jumped out of the car, that can only be an indication of how fearful and anxious she was about the accused. Police claim the argument broke out when Facita blamed the complainant for the death of their other sister 2 months ago, and the complainant began telling the accused that the family talk about him behind his back. The 30-year-old was allegedly seen hanging from the car in the minutes before she fell. She sustained critical head injuries and is now in an induced coma. Her brother was arrested at the scene for separate offences, including a charge of criminal damage, after he allegedly threw a coffee table and a portable heater at the woman in June. Today, 2 more charges were laid. Investigators claim they found cocaine and Valium at the Tarneet house he shares with his mother and sisters. In refusing Facita's application for bail, the magistrate said he was troubled by the young man's anger issues. He ordered a psychologist's report and set a new date for January. He needs to peacefully abide by the rules of society and not lose his temper when something unsatisfactory occurs. Lana Murphy, 9 News.
A Northcote tattooist is reeling after his business was destroyed by fire this morning. It's believed 2 thieves broke into Oculus Tattoo on High Street around 4 a.m. The blaze began shortly after, causing serious damage. Energy giant Shell is threatening to pull out of a deal to supply natural gas to the East Coast due to the Albanese government's proposed price cap. It's a dramatic escalation of the standoff between the industry and the government, with Australian consumers caught in the middle. Political editor Charles Croucher.
One of the world's largest energy producers tonight threatening to pull out of one of Australia's largest energy projects.
Gas companies want to maximise their profits. That's their job. We have a different job. Our job is to protect the Australian people.
Shell, through their Queensland company QGC, suspending offers to provide natural gas to much of Australia's east coast, now daring the Albanese government to further intervene with emergency powers.
This is an intervention into the market which is actually going to make it worse for families and for small businesses.
Gas companies are entitled to protect their profits, but not at the expense of Australian industry and Australian households.
The Resources Minister set to meet with gas industry chiefs this week to privately negate now public complaints.
What the government should be doing is putting more supply into the system, working with the companies, not against them, because I fear in this package that it's going to actually drive prices up.
With Parliament resuming Thursday, the Greens are now demanding changes to the package to guarantee its passage through the Senate.
What we've got to do is put a tax on these coal and gas corporations, make them pay their fair share and use that money to bring people's power bills lower.
Recalling Parliament carries a bill of its own.
It's a very wasteful way to operate, with over $1 million of taxpayers' money likely to be spent just on recalling the Parliament.
This is an urgent sitting of Parliament because we're facing an urgent situation.
A situation that's urgent and a solution still unclear. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
Even in retirement, Barty continues to collect accolades. The 3-time Grand Slam winner taking home her 5th straight Nuka medal last night. The 26-year-old claimed the top honour off the back of her Australian Open victory at the start of the year, 2 months before she announced her shock retirement.
It's more an acknowledgement and testament to the people that were around me that helped me discover those goals and chase after those dreams and give the young kid a chance to go out and chase after them.
Ash is the first tennis player in history to win the medal 5 times. And now with a look ahead to sport, Tony Jones is live tonight from MSAC.
Yeah, thanks very much, Alicia. It's night 1 of the World Short Course Championships here with some big names in action. And I've got to tell you also a swag of gold medals up for grabs tonight. Swim legend Ian Thorpe to join us live later in the news. Footy-wise, never a dull day on the footy front, and it's a fiery night looming at Hawthorn's AGM. Braden Ingram is there.
Tony, there's a mood for change here tonight. All the key players have arrived, and it is Nine News' understanding that there will be change at the top, with Andy Gowers, who leads the Hawks for Change mantle, set to be elected as Hawthorn's new president. Jeff Kennett's hand-picked successor in Peter Nankivell looks to have come up quite a way short, meaning that Andy Gowers will be the new Hawthorn president. I'll have more later in sport.
All right, talk to you then, Braden. Also coming up in sport, as the Magpies look for a new skipper, Jack has thrown his hand up. Another big-name Saint goes marching out of Moorabbin. And another day, another Dave Warner saga. This time it's the coach going into bat for him. Alicia, a huge night coming up here at Albert Park. As I said, Ian Thorpe to join us a little later on.
Cannot wait for that. All right, Tony, we will see you very soon. Up next in Melbourne's 9 News, hear from the motorbike rider using his brush with death to keep our roads safe this Christmas. A new twist for tourists in the wake of Bali's controversial sex ban, and the Australian stars dominating the Golden Globe nominations.